Crimson Trace's laser saddle is a feature-packed laser sighting solution for Mossberg 500, 590, and 590 Shockwave 12-gauge shotguns. Available as a red or green laser. Buy it now at crimsontrace.com.
Oh, yeah, I'm guilty. I know you are. You can admit it. It's okay. I always said you could probably get into half the shooting ranges in the country if you try the combination locks. It's 308, 357, or 1911. You know, just what it is, all right? Oh, by the way, I'm Tom Gresham. The show is Gun Talk. We talk about guns here. Shooting guns, collecting guns, owning guns, maybe selling them. We don't do a lot of that. Certainly feeding them, lots of ammunition, as well as how to store them safely. And how to carry them. If you're carrying a gun for self-defense, how to carry it, whether man or woman, and women have more problems with that. It's problematic because of the clothing. We can certainly tackle that as well. Also, just a heads up here, we're about to talk about a cool book that you're going to be interested in. We're going to give away 6 copies of this to our first 6 callers who come in and want to chat with us after that. All right, let me bring in right now David Frankel. He's the author of Coming to Terms, A Mass Shooting Survivor's Reckoning with Vulnerability and Self-Protection. David, thank you for your patience. How are you, sir?
Thanks, Tom. Doing great.
All right, so the quick background here, because I want to get to the kind of where we are now, is that 1993, San Francisco, for those of us who were around then know a fellow goes into the offices of the law firm, shoots up the place, killed, 6 people?
8.
8 people, killed 8 people. You were in the offices there.
I was a young attorney in the middle of closing a deal that was very important to my client at the time, and was actually on a pause, waiting for a return call that I had agreed to take at exactly 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And that's when someone knocked on my door, a very brave person named Steve, who, at great personal risk to himself, ran around and warned every single lawyer on the floor. While there was a mass shooter open and shooting, he could have fled, but he chose to warn others. And there were a lot of heroes that day. Quite honestly, I don't consider myself one of them, but there were some really, really extraordinary acts of courage that day, and I honor all of those.
Absolutely. And this fella, as often happens when the police showed up, he killed himself, committed suicide, so we'll never know exactly what was going on in his head. He did. Well, he was insane, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a given. Now, your reaction to this is interesting, and the journey, which is what this book, and for those who can't see it, this is a small book. It is, it's packed with your personal journey of kind of what happened after that. So if you could, you can kind of fast forward us through at least the first part of it. You did, I guess, probably a logical deal of, hey, guns are a problem, right?
I will say that as a corporate lawyer, I was not educated at the time as to the right to keep and bear arms.
Fair enough.
I had not evaluated those issues for myself, and I took a knee-jerk reaction, and I joined in with my fellow lawyers, hey, let's, quote, do something about this.
Sure, that's what I say. It's a logical, for a lot of people, it's a logical reaction. Well, it's okay. I mean, look.
It was a logical reaction.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So you hadn't been exposed to it. So, all right, somewhere along the line, something changed for you in your outlook on this. And I'm flipping through the book. I'm seeing something about Montana and South Dakota. What happened?
Well, it actually was a little bit before that. I was in Seattle. I had a newborn. We had just had the baby. So we were a little couple with a baby. I don't know if you have kids or if you remember back then, but
yes, indeed.
Women, they just get done with having a baby, and it's still a vulnerable time,
right?
Especially those first 30 days, and one day we were awakened to a police helicopter over the house or in our neighborhood with spotlights, and we looked out the window and we saw that there were several cruisers and law enforcement out front frantically searching with flashlights and having a great respect for law enforcement, but you can tell when there's a frenzy going on and they're trying to secure a scene or a location. And I looked in my backyard and I realized, wow, if there were a fleeing felon, that person could easily jump that 5-foot fence, easily smash through this glass door back here into our bedroom. And what would I have? A broom and a kitchen knife? So the next day I went out to a pawn shop and I bought a Remington 870 shotgun at the, background checked and did my waiting period and bought a case and bought some shells and went to a range and had some practice and got pretty decent with it. And then from there on out, I knew that if some assailant came into my house, that I was going to have a more than even chance of defending my family.
And I just want to throw this in. You're obviously a thoughtful person. You had been through surviving a mass shooting. People you knew had been murdered. You had processed that. And then when it comes around and you had that moment of, wow, and now look, a lot of us have had that moment where you say, we really are vulnerable here. I mean, it's like if somebody comes into my house and kicks in the door or, as you say, breaks in through the glass window or whatever, what am I going to do? And some people, I will just offer this, some people are unwilling to go there in their minds of, then I will take control of my own safety. What do you think it was that made you or allowed you to do that?
Between the time I was, 28 years old when the shooting happened and the time when I was 42 years old when the incident happened in Seattle, I had the great pleasure to engage in personal growth through experiences of a variety of kinds, including the kind that create personal fortitude. And, everybody has their own path of growth. And mine included going from a position of philosophically, and not to get too hippy-dippy or anything, but there are principles of nonviolence where, for example, a Tibetan Buddhist monk might even decide to self-immolate in a protest, right? That's one extreme, obviously. Other people might say, well, I'll lay down my life for others. And all first responders, members of the military, taken that oath to run to gunfire. I have the greatest honor and respect for you. I am not that person. I am a good Samaritan, but I have no obligation or desire to run to gunfire. However, there are others who believe that in a confrontation that they would rather not fight for their own life. And one could make that decision. But for me, once I had a child and I realized that a little person was depending on me coming home every day, that fortified my intention to be there for that person for as long as I could possibly be here. And so in a confrontation, I would not lay down my life. I'm going to get back to my house and see my family. And that's my position.
It's interesting. I was following your whole path. And for a lot of people, and frankly, for a lot of women especially, that's the moment when they realize, okay, all that other stuff sounds good, but for me, as you say, my personal decision is I'm not going to let someone hurt my child. I mean, it really comes down to that. And then now, okay, having come to that conclusion, now what do I do? You went more than just getting a shotgun. You've actually gone further than that. You might just kind of talk about what the book's titled Coming to Terms. We're talking with David Frankel, the author. Why coming to terms? What does that mean?
And I just want to put in a plug. All proceeds go to the California Rifle and Pistol Association. I was asked to do this by Chuck Michel. He's one of my heroes. And I said, of course, and I'm not profiting from this. This is, like a pro bono activity, if you will.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Just in this day and age with the constant attack on our innate human right to keep and bear arms, if I'm asked to help, I step forward, I help. as far as coming to terms, it's really come to terms with a lot, isn't it? When I was in law school back in the late 80s, we were taught that the right to keep and had not been decided by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right.
We had been taught that the right to keep and bear arms, that the Second Amendment was one of the, quote, weaker amendments, kind of like the 10th Amendment. Sure, it's in there, but it hasn't ever really been fully defined, and the collective right of it, and ...
Right.
Which we know now was refuted expressly by the United States Supreme Court. Justice Scalia's, brilliant, historically in-depth opinion, which is in the book. As an appendix.
Excellent. I'm glad you mentioned that. For those who don't know, yes, the Heller versus D.C. or D.C. versus Heller decision is actually in the book in entirety. And if you haven't read it, you've got to read Scalia. It is absolutely brilliant.
And so, I moved out to South Dakota. Quite honestly, I got divorced, and South Dakota is pretty far from Seattle. And if you need some space, it's a nice stretch of land and highway. And just really enjoyed the culture there. I still do, and made a lot of great friends there, and did some work on the Indian reservations there, and and found myself in some rough places. And I was very fortunate to meet a really, really knowledgeable person. Sometimes we get lucky and we get like a mentor in different parts of our lives, and this is somebody who's gunsmith, reloader, firearms genius, and his name is Space, and his nickname, and he said, have you ever shot a .45? I said, no. Have you ever shot a pistol? I said, no. Oh, we got to go. So we went down to the local range, and
right.
So this is my custom handmade 1911 that's fully tuned and perfect,
Right.
And I shot it. And you could almost put a hole in a hole with this thing,
Right.
I said, wow, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get something like that. And so then I went and I got a couple pistols, of course, for the record, through the FFLs and background checked and the whole bit. I'm a very background checked person. And I ended up getting my concealed carry. Had that since about 2009.
Wow, that's quite the journey for you to take. Let me just do this because I'm going to run out of time here, David. How do people get a copy of the book?
Go on and on. Sure.
How do people get a copy of the book?
There's this little shop online called Amazon.com.
And the title is Coming to Terms by David Frankel. And again, the proceeds are going to the California Rifle and Pistol Association, which is one of the active groups really working to preserve and actually retake gun rights in the state of California. So that is terrific. David, thank you so much.
People say California, but, it's like if there's a big hole on one side of the boat and the boat's starting to tip, and that's kind of how we are. California is like the hole. And, I like putting some energy into holding the line in California, New York, and places, it can pay off for everybody.
Absolutely. David Frankel, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN. If you want a copy of David's book, call me. We'll talk about anything, but the first 6 people to get online with me are going to get a free copy of Coming to Terms. That number is 866-TALK-GUN.
For 25 years, Crimson Trace has led the industry in laser and light technology and customer service. Now, Crimson Trace is proud to offer electronic sights and rifle scopes for tactical, target, and hunting applications, with the same Crimson Trace offer of free batteries for life on all products. The new rifle scope line is also backed by an unconditional lifetime warranty from the brand that you have trusted for over 2 decades. Find out more at crimsontrace.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Batagroup. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com.
Hi, this is Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of one football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast, but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
The Smith & Wesson M&P 380 Shield EZ pistol revolutionized personal protection with its easy-to-use design. Now, enter the M&P Shield EZ in 9mm. Built for personal and home protection, the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield EZ pistol features the same easy-to-rack, easy-to-load, and easy-to-shoot design of the M&P Shield EZ series. Available at a retailer near you. Find out more at smith-wesson.com.
Virginia, and we're going to get an update on that in about an hour, hour and a half here. But for those of you who are just catching up, maybe you don't know, in Virginia in November, they had an election and the Democrats took control of the House, the Senate, and they already had control of the governor's office. The governor said, send me all your gun control bills, I'll sign them all. And so they've started, and they've introduced all these bills, gun ban bills, confiscation bills, licensing bills, rationing bills, one gun a month. You can't buy more than one gun a month. If you go to the store and you find two guns there that are a matched pair, you can't buy them both. It just goes on and on. Everything that you've seen in Massachusetts, New York, California, all of them are in there. Where Virginians woke up too late, but they did wake up. They should have awakened before the election. And they have been going to city council meetings, county commission meetings, supervisory commission meetings by the dozens, and then they showed up by the hundreds, and then they showed up by the thousands. Imagine 2,000 people going to a county commission meeting. They can't get in the room. You put 200 people in the room, now you got 1,500 people standing around outside in the parking lot screaming and hollering. I think the number right now is 80 cities and counties have declared themselves to be Second Amendment sanctuary areas. That is, they will spend no money and they will use no effort to enforce the laws, these unconstitutional laws that appear to be headed to be passed in Virginia. This week, something interesting happened. A little frightening, but certainly interesting. First, the Governor Blackface, you remember in the news for wearing blackface, he said, well, we can't have this. He says, we expect law enforcement to enforce the laws, and if not, there will be consequences. Basically, it's what is known as a veiled threat of firing police officers, police chiefs. I don't think you can fire sheriffs, I think because they're elected. And then there's the hint of using the National Guard. One of the things that happened is the gun control forces had no idea. They never have any idea of who we are and how many we are and how we view the Second Amendment with the same rigor as the First Amendment. To us, protecting the Second Amendment is protecting our country. To us, an assault on our Second Amendment rights is an assault on our country, and we will show up and protect it just as we would to protect the country. With everything that means, you use whatever imagination you want, and yes, that will, for some people, include armed resistance. I know they don't think that's true, but then again, they had no idea this was going to happen. They have badly misjudged. Where do we go from here with this? Well, with any luck, first of all, they've already blinked. The gun control folks have already blinked. They've already said, oh, okay, well then, tell you what, we'll do a quid pro quo. if you guys back down, we'll take out the part where it says we're going to confiscate your guns. We'll just ban the sale of bad guns. But you'll be able to keep them. You'll be able to grandfather them. We'll buy you off. And the Virginians are going, not on your life. Not on your life. Not going to happen. Yeah, Jim says the National Guard spokesman came out with a statement that basically kind of deftly moved between the lines of saying that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. And there are people who say, I hear gun owners say, oh, the cops won't enforce that. The National Guard won't enforce that. They're our neighbors. And I'm thinking, you're a fool. You have not been paying attention. They most certainly will. We watched in New Orleans in Hurricane Katrina when the cops were told to confiscate guns. They went door to door. They kicked in doors. They knocked down people. They knocked down little old ladies. We got the video. Stole their guns. Where the mayor said there will be no firearms in this city other than what the police have. No one will be allowed to have a firearm. And the police enforced those unconstitutional, illegal orders. And then afterwards, they all denied that they did it until we found the warehouse where they had thousands of guns stored and sued the mayor personally. And all of a sudden, he went, oh, yeah, okay. Of course, the guns were pretty much ruined at that point, rusted. But we did find them. If you want all the information about that, grab the book, The Great New Orleans Gun Grab. It's available on Amazon. So where are we headed in Virginia? I don't know, but here's the thought. I hope that this movement becomes our Arab Spring and moves from state to state to state. And I hope that people wake up everywhere and show up and make noise and flood the parking lots and let them know we are here and we are engaged and we're not going away, and no, we're not going to accept your stupid compromise where you let us keep what we have but ban what we can buy. That's not happening. So the question is, are you in? 866 Talk Gun. Of course it is. Hey, welcome back. Tom Gresham, 866 Talk Gun. Mark's on line one with us out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hey, Mark, thanks for your patience. What's on your mind? Hello, we got Mark, line one.
Hear me?
Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Hey, I got you.
I always appreciate, as an NRA member, when you bring us up to date with a couple of minutes on gun
Yes.
talk about what's going on with NRA headquarters, with Wayne LaPierre, with the possibility of, getting things straightened out at NRA headquarters so that we can have a strong NRA for 2020.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I see right now. And look, I appreciate the call. I don't know what those beeps are, but the NRA is a mess. And it has left a huge gaping hole in our ability to be effective on the gun rights side. Because the truth of it is, we got other outfits that do a lot of good things. The Citizens Committee, Second Amendment Foundation, state groups, regional groups, all do really good things, but they're not the NRA. And the NRA is AWOL. It is simply missing in action. And to the question of what can be done, I've thought about it a lot, and I hate to say this, but I think the answer is nothing as long as Wayne LaPierre is there. He has solidified his base. He has his hand-selected people on the board. He cannot be voted out by the board. He can't be removed by the members. He's not going anywhere. I mean, unless he's dragged out, which is actually slim, but it's actually a possibility that could happen as well. But until and unless he's gone, I don't see it becoming effective. I think it will continue to be under attack. Not that the antis won't continue to attack, but I think a lot of NRA members, they haven't given up on the NRA, but they've given up on Wayne. And they're sitting on the sidelines and just saying, no, not sending in any money, not rejoining. When he's gone, I'll be back. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've heard that. When he's gone, I'll be back. And I know how they're spending it. that this is some kind of a media attack through Ackerman McQueen, their PR agency they've had for 20 plus, 30 years. And supposedly, the message that's being put out by the NRA is, well, we discovered that ACMAC was overbilling us and that we split on that basis, and now they're out to get us. And to which I said, wait. You guys were in each other's pockets for 20 years or more. You have all made millions of dollars. In the case of Ackerman McQueen, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. And a lot of the top people at the NRA have made millions of dollars personally out of this. And you fed each other, and Angus McQueen would write the words, Wayne would say them, and he would have this policy called managed controversy, and they would say something outrageous, and they'd get media attention, and people would scream and holler, and the donations would come in. It was all about getting the donations. So I am less than impressed with the idea that we just suddenly found out they've been overbilling us, and we split over that, when you've been, it's that old question of, well, for 20 years you were supposed to be managing your vendor, Ackerman McQueen. Were you corrupt or were you incompetent? Not that the two can't be happening at the same time. But you're supposed to be managing this. So I am less than impressed with that argument. And I'm frankly less than hopeful at their ability to fix it internally with the current leadership. And unfortunately, I do not know how to change the leadership. An attempt was made. It failed. Wayne won. Internal politics, palace coup, all the rest of it, whatever you want to call it, but I think that's where we are. I wish I had better news for you. I do not. I don't know what happens as a result of this, but I do know, I am certain that we are losing and will continue to lose ground because of what's going on there, because of the actions or lack of actions of leadership at the NRA. I wish that weren't true, because I am a life member. More than that, I'm a higher level member than that. I put a lot of money into the NRA. I like the NRA. I believe in the NRA. I want it to be strong. We need it to be strong. I just don't know how it happens under the current leadership. Let's go to line 3. Paul's with us out of Stagecoach, Nevada. That's a great name. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind? Hey, Paul, you there? Well, maybe not. Everybody's taking a break here. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break here. We'll line them back up, and we'll come back. We'll get them. If we have room for you, we actually do have room for you if you'd like to join us. 866-TALK-GUN. We'll be right back.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
Mental health and guns. At Walk the Talk America, we are working with both the mental health community and the gun industry. Created by a gun industry veteran, Walk the Talk America seeks to raise awareness and create change through suicide prevention and firearm safety without legislation. We strive to eliminate the prejudice that firearms and mental health face. For more information and to support Walk the Talk America, please visit walkthetalkamerica.org.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
with you. Let's see. Joseph, Chris, Kevin, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you immediately. Let's do this. Line 4, Joseph's with us out of Reno, Nevada. Joseph, thank you for your patience, sir. What's on your mind?
You're welcome, Tom. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They can't use the military against us because of posse comitatus. There's a law that says they can't do that. So, that Virginia governor can just forget his, trying to get the military against any of his guys, Also, I was going to say, I'm also a life member or higher than that, like as you said, and I told him not to call me anymore because I'm not going to give him any money until Wayne LaPierre's out of there because, he and his wife dipping in the till. I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, that's theft, and I don't abide by that.
Well, I don't know if it's theft. They're certainly getting paid a lot. He's getting over $2 million. They're flying on private jets all over. He's buying his custom suits in California, flies through on private jets. Yeah, it's not exactly theft, but it certainly is. I would call it certainly a misuse of funds, and also, that's not why we send our money to him. It's not so that he can wear $5,000 suits and get custom fitted and fly on private jets all over the place. And they'll say, well, he has to fly privately because of security. Well, that's baloney. People with a much higher risk than him fly commercial if you have the right kind of security people that know what they're doing. That's unnecessary. That's just isn't this the good life deal? Let me ask you a question. What would it take to get you back involved in the NRA?
And straighten up the board of directors. I don't understand why the board of directors why they're not willing to do something about this. Obviously they have to know there's a problem. It's all over the place. Everybody knows about it, and I just don't understand why nobody's doing anything about it. I would if they would get rid of him and get somebody back in there. I don't know. Maybe they hire Chris Cox back or something. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons that some of the members on the board of directors are supporting him is because they're making a lot of money from the NRA. Right. There are a lot of people on the board who actually have employment deals or consulting deals or some other deals, and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year off the NRA. And if they were to vote Wayne out, they lose their deal. And so that's a lot of what's going on. And now at that point, I start to call it crooked. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, right, yeah. Then they're going to lose their little gravy train, and that's not right. I just don't get anything. I haven't heard any. I'd really be curious to what Ted Nugent thinks about it. I haven't heard a thing about it from him, since this happened, and I guess maybe I haven't listened to the right place or something, but I've heard nothing.
Yeah, and of course, Ted's on the board too,
Huh?
Ted's on the board.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we'll ask him. We'll get him on there and see if he wants to talk about it. Look, I got to keep running here. I appreciate your call, sir. Let's see here. Yes, we have time. Chris, line 5 in Springfield, Missouri. Hey, Chris, talk to me, please.
Yes, I travel extensively with a handgun, and I flew from St. Louis, Missouri to Boston. I checked in my handgun at Missouri, at the TSA box and everything, and the right locks, the non-TSA locks. I did everything right, declared the firearm. Flew to Boston, went to the bed, and I put the box inside of another larger suitcase.
Okay.
Arrived and then I got to Boston and took the suitcase off the carousel and got ready to get on the bus, but I thought I'll open it up and take a look. Opened it up, and the smaller box containing the handgun was not there inside of the suitcase.
Okay.
I immediately, I thought, well, TSA's got it. I've got to go pick it up someplace else at Logan. And so I went into the United Airlines counter and told them what was going on. And they said, well, we don't. And then we went back and forth and determined they didn't have anything for me. Nobody had anything for me. And so then the police came down. And the bottom line was, they said it was stolen after I checked it in Missouri.
Right.
After I checked in to the TSA.
It happens. Look, we know baggage handlers or other people involved with airlines steal guns. They've been caught on camera doing it. They take guns out. In your case, somebody opened up the case, your suitcase, and reached around in there and found a gun case and yanked it out of there and just sent your bag along the way. I worry about things like that. I mean, and at this point, basically all you're faced with is trying to get insurance for it because that gun's probably gone.
Reimbursed for everything. I had some other things in the case too. I would suggest that the next time I do anything like this, anytime I travel, I'm not going to carry it in a small box anymore. I'm going to use a larger lock case for it, A. And B, I'm going to make sure I have my serial number of the weapon and also pictures of it. I'm going to travel in a separate place and pictures of the luggage also when I go. But it was a really rough deal. It took me almost 2 days to just call all the police departments and explain to them what happened because I didn't know what, and sometimes I called them and they didn't even know anything had happened. The airport police, they didn't even alert the airport police about it to an investigation. So. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you want to say, hey, there's somebody has stolen a gun at the airport. Somebody at the airport, at some airports, got my gun. I'm just thinking about things you can do if you have a small case. I like your idea of just getting a bigger locked case. Use that. It's harder for somebody to hide if they steal it. The other possibility, think about this: if you had a small pistol case inside of your largest suitcase, but if you had 2 or 3 other cases in there and you cable lock them all together with like a bicycle lock rig, if somebody takes one, now they've got this whole mess of several different cases all banging together, maybe less attractive. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is in this case. And obviously you can ship it ahead to your, to your destination and have it waiting for you so you don't have to go through the airline thing at all. That's perfectly legal. It's a bit of a mess, and boy, I'm real sorry, but we certainly have heard, and thank you for your call, we certainly have heard of guns being stolen at airports, typically in the baggage area, whether it's a baggage handler or somebody else, but often that's the case, what's going on. I mean, heck, if they're shipping drugs through and people are getting drugs off of planes that way, there are people who are trying to steal guns. Putting it into a larger case, maybe not a bad idea. It's easy for somebody to pull a small handgun case out of a suitcase and maybe just stick it inside of a coat. I mean, I don't know how they do that exactly. Having never been someone who steals things, I don't know exactly how that works. Let's see, what do we got here, Jim? A couple of minutes? Okay, let's do this. Line 1, Kevin G., Springfield, Missouri. I got 1 minute for you. Go, man.
Okay, Tom, on the gun thing, thanks for taking my call. On the gun thing, whenever you go duck hunting, you put out a decoy, put on a tracing system on it, and catch the people that are stealing, closed case.
Sure.
Okay, the other thing I was going to say was, with our federal gun laws, there's rapid violence with it, and it's a terrible thing. We need to talk again on this someday. If you use a gun in vain, to steal, anger, anything against another human being, and it's proved beyond a reasonable doubt, guess what? You just got the needle, buddy.
I'm not sure I'm following you.
Federal. Go ahead.
I'm going to hold you over because I don't know what you're saying here. I lost the last part of what you said. Terry, hold on a second here, Kevin. I'll get back to you. Let's see. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN. That'll get you in here. If, by the way, if you call in, you're going to get a free copy of Coming to Terms. It's a new book about a mass shooting survivor who became a gun owner. Our number again, 866-TALK-GUN. Hi, welcome back. We're talking with Kevin G. Kevin, I was missing, I think we had a bad phone connection there. Someone wanted to try to get you back in here. What was the point you were making, sir?
How nice of you holding me on there. That's very nice of you, Tom. First thing, with the guy with the TSA and the gun swiping, somebody stealing a gun.
Right.
Like whenever you go duck hunting, you put out decoys. Okay, it attracts the ducks. Well, you do something like this, it attracts the thieves. Put a tracer on it.
That's a good idea. They have those GPS tracker chips you can put in there. I like that idea.
Thank you. And make sure the person who does it is punished good enough to where the next one thinks twice, 3 times, 4 times before he ever does it. Because it's a severe penalty.
Right. That is the problem, is trying to get prosecutors to consider this to be a serious crime and actually prosecute it. But, yeah, I get your point.
Okay. Well, on that same track right there, Tom, it's a great thing having guns in this country. This country was based on guns. But we have a major, major problem. People just not respecting it and respecting other lives. Like, if you would use it, here's what I feel. If you use a gun in vain, you use a gun you hold up somebody, you shoot them, you use it in anger, you take another human life. Do you do this with a gun to another human, proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Mm-hmm.
Buddy, you got a date with the needle. You're going, and you know what?
Let me jump in and ask you a question.
Okay.
Why do you think it's worse to commit that crime with a gun?
I guess because it's so rapid right now. Nobody takes a pocket knife and throws it into a crowd.
Well, but my point is, what you're doing is you're saying that committing a murder with a gun is much worse than committing a murder with a knife or an axe or something else. And I just find that to be mind-boggling. I don't understand the thinking. And trust me, we have laws that say that if you use a gun in a commission of a crime, you get an additional sentence. And I just think that's just idiotic. I can't imagine why do we care what tool somebody uses when they hurt somebody when it's already against the law to hurt somebody in the first place. And I think it plays into the hands of the gun banners who want to say, well, guns are so bad, we should have additional penalties if you commit a crime with a gun. We're buying into the whole idea that using a gun against somebody makes it worse than using some other tool. I think that's a real tactical error for us to go that way.
No, you're using this gun in vain. You are using this weapon, and it's too easy to shoot into a crowd. You're not going to take a pocket knife and throw it into the crowd and try to kill somebody. No, you're going to do a drive-by with a gun.
People do mass killings with knives. It just happened. Look at London. Look in, I think it was Holland. We have mass killings with knives all over the world. So, I mean, I will never, ever buy into the idea that using a gun in the commission of a crime makes the crime worse. I mean, you could use explosives, like Jim says. You could use poisons. You could use certainly knives. You have Nice, France, where the guy uses a truck and kills 80 people by running over them with a truck. Are we going to say that if you use a truck in the commission of a crime, you get additional penalties? We're going down the wrong road with that, and we're buying into the idea that using a gun in a crime somehow makes the crime worse. What that says to the public is guns are inherently bad. And we need to get away from that. We also need to get away from the whole idea that there are some guns that are bad guns and some guns that are good guns, because that's the whole basis of assault weapons bans, Saturday night special bans, all the rest of the bans, is they want to split us up into the good guns and the bad guns, and I'll let you take those guys' guns as long as I get to keep my guns. That's a losing proposition, because you know why? They want them all, and they want to take them from your home, from your safe, from your hands, and they will do anything required to make that happen.